Minister, the Bus Éireann are flouting the protocols on return to work which your government published on the 9th of May, which required that if bus workers can't social distance on Bus Éireann buses, there should be screens. There are no screens. And bus workers are very concerned about the return to work, which will see passenger numbers rise on the Bus Éireann fleet on Monday. Right? And frankly, I think they'd be right to walk off the job. 90% of the fleet, there's no screens. They're having to handle cash. They've nowhere to put it. They're putting it in their pockets. The company won't allow passengers get on the middle doors where they would stay away from the drivers. Right? That's not acceptable and flies in the face of the commitments you gave just a second ago. Right? So those social distancing protocols and the government return to work safely protocol from the 9th of May needs to be implemented immediately. Secondly, taxi drivers. Also frontline transport essential workers. They are facing devastation of their livelihoods, absolute devastation. Not just in the short term, as many tens of thousands are at the moment, but in the medium to long term. Because for the foreseeable future, tourism is a dead duck coming into this country. Mass gatherings, the live entertainment industry, large sports gatherings on which they depend to make their livelihoods viable are not coming back in the foreseeable future. Therefore, there needs to be a package of financial supports for taxi drivers who have insurance to pay, have car loans to pay, have mortgages to pay. They need certainty about income supports as long as their industry remains devastated, and they need the NTA to provide partition screens and pay for them in taxis so that taxi drivers are safe and so that there are sanitisers and other cleansing and disinfecting equipment available for taxi drivers. Last two quick things I just want to mention very quickly. A lot of people have turned to cycling over the last while for the obvious reasons during this pandemic. That's good for public health, it's good for the environment, but we need to significantly expand the Bike to Work scheme, get rid of the 5-year requirement in order to renew your bike, and extend the scheme to people on social welfare and pensioners, and indeed, if you wanted to be really radical and take the opportunity to be so in this area, give people free bicycles. That would really be a radical and progressive move. Lastly, the Tax Savers scheme, where workers who pay for their monthly or annual travel pass, but of course at the moment aren't actually able to avail of that. They're paying for it out of their salaries and wages. They should be given relief, a break on that, and get a refund of that money, or be able to opt out and then opt back into the scheme so that they're not paying for it. So hopefully you could respond to those. I know you won't be able to respond to all of those, but I want to make a particular shout out for the bus workers, right? The bus workers, and by the way, the health and the cleansing and infection teams that are supposed to be cleaning out the buses are not actually working properly. They're not cleansing and disinfecting the buses or many of the bus depots.
Minister, 1 minute 10 seconds.
1 minute 10 seconds. Oh, sorry. Okay. I'd like to thank Deputy Boyd for what he has to say. The Bus Éireann continue to explore options for protective screens in the driver's cab area for those vehicles that don't already have them. They've now begun trialling the portable screens on their coaches. And according to guidance provided by the health authorities, the risk of contracting COVID-19 from handling cash is negligible. But this measure was introduced to provide further protection to bus drivers by reducing their level of interaction. This is with members of the public. The measure was in line with steps taken in other jurisdictions such as London, Barcelona, Denmark, Australia and New Zealand. So they are tackling this problem. You're absolutely right. It's something which they should do. To address the issue of taxis, they're in bits. You're right. It's a really bad situation for taxis. I think it's about 97% of them are now not operating, and you know, they have contracts which just are null and void in effect because they're not working in it. And
I have to stop you there, Minister. Sorry.
sorry.